Messages to Grace. Grace is a fucking nigger and a hater, and I will always hate her now because of what she did. And yes, I will White House. I will fucking every single police station in the entire US. And Grace told me to make this video. I want Grace fucking, this is for her because she's fucking been behind all the manipulation ever since the beginning.
Yo, what's up guys? Mayor Menace here and welcome back to another video. So today, we're going to be covering Daniel Larson again. Last video I made on him, I didn't really go into the story that much, and I made a really loose closing statement because of it. My closing statement was that Clark was just a normal 20-year-old kid having a few laughs and a fun time. But I was actually far from the truth. There is way more trolls in this, obviously, and they keep giving him false information as he's in jail, and it's really deplorable and disgusting at this point, and just way overboard. There's a difference between trolling and getting your laughs, and just being excessive and obsessive, and just wanting clout and just cashing in on that cash cow. Does all of this make me sympathetic for Daniel? No, because there's a lot of evidence in this video that will show you that he was caught up in a delusion and a lot of lies and obviously has suffered mentally from this, but he wasn't willing to cooperate with anybody to get himself out of the delusion. We also still got to think about the fact that he's pursuing a relationship with a minor, and on top of that, she doesn't even want him. The reason why I put that intro in the video is because of one piece of it. It's when he says that Grace has been behind the manipulation the whole time. And I think that this is a moment where the delusion really broke for him, where he had an eye opening moment and he just snapped back into it instantly. My main question about this clip was what manipulation? Because what this stemmed from was Grace, aka all the trolls, just calling him a PDF file and saying they don't want anything to do with him anymore. So today, we're going to be taking a little deep dive into the court documents. We're going to be talking about all of the delusional calls he had with Lil Sippy after his arrest, and we're going to talk about his crazy obsession with Grace, even after finding out it was all fake. Him still wanting to leave the country with her and a bunch of other stuff. Let's get into it. So, when I looked into the court documents, I wanted to look more into what the justice system was doing about the mental health aspect of all this, more than the trolling, because let's be honest, that is what is more important here. Worrying that Daniel gets the actual help he needs more than just being thrown in jail and just rotting. So when it comes down to it, it really seems like they wanted Daniel to be in a actual facility more than a prison because they kept trying to find a suitable facility for him until they found the one. There was many problems with these facilities, like Daniel not being a suitable fit, like they couldn't handle him, and on top of that, bed space as well, which really shows that mental health in our country is a big problem. He had to await the acceptance of 3 facilities until he got accepted into one. There was a point where it got so bad they were entertaining the fact that they wanted to dismiss the indictment. Now, I'm pretty sure that means they were going to dismiss the whole case together, I may be wrong on this, but just let me know. If I'm correct here, the fact that they couldn't find a suitable facility for him, making it a probable cause to just throw him out and not do anything, is just really disrespectful. I really don't understand why this was even a thought process they made. It's just so confusing. Now, we're going to hear everything from Daniel himself. How the guards mess with him in jail, how everybody's against him, how they want to just keep him away from Grace, all this really delusional stuff. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the trolls a little bit more. These trolls are really despicable at this point because they could just leave Daniel alone and it would help Daniel's case way more if he just got the help he needed. But these trolls just keep giving him misinformation about Grace and everything that's going on outside, and he just trusts them. And then it gets to a point where he starts talking about cutting off his family because his family is the one that's against him, and how he's really convinced that the trolls are actually Grace, Tina, and Griffin. But then he starts talking about another Grace, a real Grace, like he just won't break out of the delusion.
Daniel Larson. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, press 5. You may begin speaking now.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, this is Daniel Larson.
What's going on, Daniel? How you doing, man?
Hi, I'm doing okay. My lawyer hasn't been getting back to me at all. I haven't spoken to him since early August.
Okay, I was looking on Pacer, and the prosecution has filed a new thing in your case, a new document in your case that says you'll probably be in Springfield by December.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And also my lawyer, for some reason, has been, like, the last time I talked to him, which was early August, right? He told me that I was never in contact with the Vanderwalls or the label, which is false.
You said
Because I was in contact with Grace before, and her mother.
so. You said that there's something in your discovery for your legal cases confirmed that you were talking to the Vanderwalls or something.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's confirmed, and there's even conversations in my legal discovery over social media where Tina has admitted to talking with me, which is true, where she's told me to stop listening to the trolls. The issue is, well, I was homeless, right? I had to make my own living. I had to try to survive, and it became a survival thing where I was trying to, like, literally stay alive. And my family, my own family, was manipulating financials. They were telling me to cut ties with Tina, and I accidentally blocked the real Tina, not the impersonators. I accidentally blocked the real Tina, and I lost contact altogether. When I tried to regain contact, I couldn't. You see what I mean?
Yeah. What people? So what?
Big issue is, so Tina wanted me to cut ties with Grace and stop talking to the impersonators and only talk to Grace. And what Grace was doing was she was getting me in contact with her management behind Tina's back. And so Grace got me in contact with everybody. You see what I mean?
Okay.
And then somewhere along the line, when Tina found out, because I reported it to Tina that Grace was actually in contact, once Grace's mother found out, then Tina started having full-time contact with me.
Wow.
So the first minute in, he's talking about how he straight up called his public defendant a liar because he found evidence that he wasn't talking to Tina the whole time, and Daniel's whole rebuttal to that is, well, Tina did tell me to leave Grace alone, so we did talk at one point. I swear we had a conversation. He also goes on to say that he ended up blocking her after that, and how he kept talking to the real Tina the entire time, and since he was homeless, he had no team around him, or security, or anything, so he couldn't figure anything out, and he was trying to survive. But we all know what he was really doing as he was trying to survive. He was just trying to pay that phone bill every month, and he was just really trying to live out that fantasy about Grace and destroying hotels and going any place he thought he could just to freeload and just loiter. I mean, what else can you do when you're homeless and you're a fucking predator?
They were saying that I needed to have 5 songs, an EP, before I can get the label deal, which is supposed to be $35 million, or $36 million. It was supposed to be record-breaking deal for 2023, but my family kept saying it was fake and wasn't real. And I tried to get help. That's why I was going on the M1 holds. Okay?
Yeah.
The M1 holds were calling, everybody at the hospitals were calling my family, telling them they needed to get me housing. They refused, and I was put right back on the streets.
Okay.
While all this was going on, law enforcement got involved and started telling me I was not in contact with Tina and to block Tina again. And it became a war of who I was in contact with. And so I made the threat, which is why I'm here in prison, in jail. I made the threats to try to put an end to everything and drag everybody into the situation so I can handle things legally.
Yeah, I know that you were emailing me last night talking about when you're going to have a trial. You do understand that you have to, like, they've said you're incompetent to stand trial, and they'll probably hold you until you're competent. You got to kind of put on an act. If I were you, I'd kind of try to put on an act and, act as normal as possible to try to, for the psychiatrist to say that you're competent, so you can just go ahead and take a plea deal and get out. Because
Yes, which is actually weird because nobody's telling me why I'm incompetent. Like, nobody has been telling me anything. They've been saying that I've been doing things very well and I shouldn't even be in custody. That's the word from the jail.
Do you have any
and psychiatry?
Do you have any idea how long you'll be in Springfield? Are they going to hold you indefinitely until they say you're competent, or what?
That's what my lawyer is shooting for. He's saying that they're going to try to make me competent. I never even knew what Grace was even saying behind the scenes, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I figured that Tina was going to try to...
This call is from a federal prison.
I figured that Tina was going to try to stop Grace from having contact with me.
Okay.
And I don't know why.
Well, just as you should probably just not mention Grace or Tina to any of the psychiatrists, because I don't think that's really going to help your case.
I don't think it's helping either.
Yeah.
Like, I asked my lawyer for verification on if it was really the real Tina.
And he said no?
And he said no.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird because it's confirmed that, yes, it was actually them. And I'm not saying that there was a fake involved, but what I'm saying is that I was definitely at one point in contact. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
and that's what I needed to clarify. Now that I've clarified that, now I'm concerned about how I can make things better, and everybody else is just going backwards.
Daniel starts to go more in depth about the situation, and he says it got to a point where police were telling him to stop messing with the trolls and just to start blocking out everything. And his whole rebuttal here is, well, I've talked to the real Tina at one point, and he will always harp on that, as I've said before. He also says at one point, I'm not saying there's a fake, really alluding to the fact that there is a fake, and that right there is just further confirmation that he knows what's going on. He just wants to be with Grace. One thing that really shows that he's not going to accept the help, or if he were to get help, he would still be stuck under this illusion, is the fact that he's like, well, I'm going forward and everyone's going backwards and nobody understands me.
You don't have any idea when you'll be out?
I don't. My lawyer is saying, last I heard, that I'm going for 4 months, and if I get found competent, then I'm going to trial. So he
Okay,
says
good.
my trial could be sometime next year, but this is the first time I've heard of Tina trying to stop Grace, and I would like to know more information on that, but I am concerned that things aren't going to work out, because I also know that most of Grace's songs are about me. I've been listening to a lot of her songs. So.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Anyway, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you that paperwork. I already sent you some pictures of Billie Eilish, Bad Baby, and Flo Milli. And actually today the pictures of Grace and JoJo and Emma came, so I'm gonna get those to you too. And you still on 23&1 on PC?
Yeah, I'm still on PC.
Okay, you gonna call back?
I'm gonna call back.
As you can hear, Daniel, he's super certain that all the songs that Grace has made are about him. I haven't heard any of these songs personally, but I'm pretty sure they're not. Now, when I told you that these trolls are just super overboard with him, this one in specific is overboard. He goes online flexing his federal cases like he's some fucking badass, and he goes and just sends pictures of girls nonstop to Daniel Larson. I mean, all of them are adults, other than Grace, as I know of. Maybe she's an adult now. But it's just super weird. He just goes out looking for collages of pictures just to send Daniel. Something Daniel says too is that he started making threats for the main reason to start handling everything legally. I don't know why that was his route about it. He could have probably just went into a court office or something, even though he had hella warrants, and he could have went in and said, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on. I really want to figure this out. Please help me. Not threaten multiple government buildings to the point where he's racked up 60 plus years in prison with 7 charges of threatening government buildings.
I'm afraid that I'm going to have to plead guilty, because the thing is, if I plead guilty, then I don't think I can be with Grace.
Well, if you,
and I think
why do you think that? If you plead guilty, you might be able to get just time served. You might just be able to get out, but you have to be found competent before you can plead guilty, is what I'm saying.
Right, and I'm not saying I'm going to be facing a long time or anything, but I would plead guilty to a felony because I'm in the feds.
Yeah,
See what I'm saying?
But how does it affect?
Grace wants me to travel with her. She goes to London all the time. She goes to Paris. And there are certain countries, if I have a felony, I cannot go to.
Yeah,
and Grace has friends in those countries.
Yeah, there are certain countries. Yeah, I think you can go to London. I think the only main country you can't go with no felony is like Canada.
And Canada's a big one. I think her label's out of Canada. Columbia Records.
So if you,
I think it's out of Canada.
So if you do,
but there would be conflict there.
So if you do end up being found competent, you're going to try to go to trial and beat get a not guilty verdict on the allegations?
That's what we're trying, and my lawyer has told me that we're trying to get a not guilty. He thinks I'm a victim of the case.
Okay.
As
So-
far as trying to make everything work with the Vanderwalls, that's what I'm concerned about now. Because I told my lawyer I'm not going to plead guilty and I'm not going to even make a decision until I know what's going on with Grace. And unfortunately, the way things are going with my family and the way things are going in my life at this time, I'm thinking about just cutting ties for my safety with my family for the time being.
With Bob in them?
Yeah, because Bob is not helping when I was on the streets. I don't believe he will help once I get out. I don't think he cares about my career. Same thing with my biological dad. And I think as far as my career goes and legal stuff when it comes to my publicity, I think that the Vanderwalls can...
This call is from a federal prison.
The Vanderwalls and her label could definitely help with that and keep me safe.
Okay.
And I
You
know
gotta
how
understand that
to listen
there's
to
a lot of trolls who pretend to be Bob. So, are you actually talking to the real Bob, or are you just talking to the trolls that want to mess with you and pretend to
I'm
be
talking to the real Bob.
Okay.
It's verified with my lawyer, and I even know his home address. So
Bob? And he's not trying to help you?
he's not. Like he thought that Grace was fake all along, and that I was
Okay.
never in contact.
Are you still friends with Clark?
I'm trying to be friends with Clark, but he's flip-flopping on a lot of information.
Yeah, I guess the feds are investigating him too. It came to his work. I wouldn't care if the feds investigate me. They already are, but yeah, I guess he's being scaredy, but
He asks Daniel if he's in contact with Bob and his family, and he says yes, but later on, you're going to find out that this Bob was probably another troll, and Daniel was just falling for it. And with Lil Sippy, he's just really smug and annoying when he asks about Clark. Like, yeah, did you ever talk to Clark again? He's like, well, I'm trying to be friends with Clark. And then he's like, yeah, well, I know Clark's being investigated, and they went into his work, and I know they're about to investigate me, like he's all cocky and he's gonna get out of it, like he has every other federal case. Just his big flexes, just another case to put up on the rack, I guess, because this guy right here is just a flat out degenerate, it seems. There's an interview with him and a cop, and the cop's like telling him, yeah, there's stuff on you that we have from when you were in third grade. It just really shows that this troll in specific is just a degenerate. And the way that this dude is looking really has me thinking of Lil Oxy. He's got that big beard. He don't shave at all. He's got face tats like he's a rapper. He's on some. And he's got guns. All this other stuff. But the goddamn Sonichu chain. I don't know where the hell those came from. And I don't know why he has them. But if he is as hard as he is, I don't think he'd be parading those around wherever he lives. And it seems like he lives in Chicago somewhere, coincidentally, where Lil Oxy lives. So it just seems like there's a bunch of motherfuckers in Chicago parading Sonic chains.
So we already know, right, that Tina, right,
yeah.
is lying. She's been in contact with me. The Vanderwall Studio accounts I've been in contact with. So she's lying about almost everything.
Yeah.
Another thing that I found out is if you listen to a lot of Grace's songs,
They're about you.
they're 100% about me.
Yeah.
Like every single song. Without me, her career would be going down the drain.
Yeah.
And not only that, with Tina being completely not helpful right now, it's only making things worse. And I think I figured out why my public defender is saying that Grace is out of the picture and everything.
Why
And
is that?
it's serious.
Why is he saying that?
So, first of all, I was looking at the lyrics. more direct, okay?
Okay.
And it is, she's actually in a couple of her songs mentioning there was a picture of me, okay, that was videotaped, well, not really videotaped, but I guess taken a picture of. Well, I was in the shower, and it got leaked over the internet. Okay, it's one picture, and it was taken behind my back by a person in my disability housing, and I was fully nude.
Yeah.
At that point, Grace was underaged back then.
Okay.
Now, because it got leaked to the internet, Grace, around that time, and I were planning on going on tour. We were talking about going on tour. We weren't actually serious or even talking about a relationship. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But Grace saw the picture of me, right? And I guess her mother misinterpreted that video. Okay?
How did her mother interpret it?
She thought that I was into, I guess, children and was a pedophile.
Daniel was going over how the pictures got leaked and how a worker was taking pictures of him while he was showering, and that was how it got leaked. But in reality, it was just him taking pictures of himself and then sending them to a fake Grace. Also, if this was really the case for Daniel, the whole internet would have felt bad for him more than dogpiled on him, especially because of the fact that he was in a Discord saying that he would change the age of consent to 16 and lower if he was president.
2022, Tina reached out to me and said, stop talking to Grace. Or stop talking to the people claiming to be Grace. It's not Grace. And that was the video, or that was the time, right, in 2022, where in my legal discovery, I said to Tina, which Tina is lying in my legal discovery, but I told Tina that day when Grace was at her family's or at her mother's or something, and Tina denies that Grace was in contact. Tina contacted Grace because she was sitting right next to her, right, on the couch or something, and Grace admitted to being in contact with me all along behind Tina's back.
Yeah.
See what I mean? This was in 2020, 2022.
Motives for lying to you.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is never once, just because I had pictures of models and stuff on my phone, and Grace wanted me to talent scout for her. And I guess her modeling or whatever she wanted to do, I don't fucking know, but she wanted me to become a talent scout for Interscope Records at some point. And somewhere along in there is when I started going through social media as a talent scout looking for other artists.
Yeah.
Never once was it anything sexual. But because of the picture, right, back in 2020 that got leaked to social media, ever since then, I've been a victim of sexual assault. On the streets, other people are coming up to me just in general trying to say, hey, you're a pedophile. Never once was I.
Yeah, they're just
See what I mean?
They're trying to frame you.
They're trying to frame me now. That the FBI is just lying to them without the full verification. And I was also, on top of that, somewhere in like the first or second interview I had with the FBI, I was framed to admit to somebody claiming to be Tina. I don't think it was, but it might have been, where I actually admitted that I was. Because I was asked like 5 or 6 times in a row, I just kind of gave up and I started like saying, whatever. You know what I mean? Because I was asked so many times.
Yeah, you were coerced into it.
Coerced, exactly. So this entire thing is coercion. Songs more, I really feel kind of the same way that Grace feels on a lot of things. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm concerned about the picture being leaked. That's not my fault.
It's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet situation. You want to be with Grace. Grace wants to be with you.
Much. Well, she wants to be with me, but at the same time,
Tina's
because of that picture, right? But because of the picture that got leaked on the internet or whatever,
yeah,
she also can't get that out of her mind. She can't. You know what I mean? Because she was underage at that time.
Yeah.
So just watching me being homeless and watching me struggle in life is really, in my opinion, what's bringing her into everything and wanting to be with me.
Yeah, because she's going through the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like Romeo and Juliet. She's tired of seeing me suffer, and that's turning into love.
Yeah.
Kind of like a victim and victim turning into victims loving each other.
Definitely.
That's not good.
It really seems like he doesn't understand that he never talked to Tina in the first place, other than that one time she told him to leave them alone. And he just really keeps trying to say, I've been in contact with Tina, and I've been in contact with Grace. I've even told Tina that me and Grace are together, and we're talking. But obviously, that's not true. Daniel also brings up the fact that he has many pictures of females in his phone, models and such, is because he was going to be a talent scout for Grace, which is obviously not the case. I don't know why he would try and be like, yeah, I was going to be a talent scout for her and all this stuff, but he had to set up EPs, he had to set up an album to get into the record label like he was an artist. His delusion gets deeper as he starts bringing up the FBI and how they're framing him and coercing him into saying that he's never talked to Grace and Tina and how he's talked to only fakes. But that's just the truth. That's just what it is, and that's what everybody is seeing it for what it is. His family's telling him it's all fake. Tina herself has come out and told him it's all fake. Bob has come out, told him it's all fake. Everybody in this situation that has been trying to help Danny has been just telling little Danny that it's all fake. He really wants to be with Grace so bad to where he's willing to take this to trial so he doesn't plead guilty, so he doesn't catch a felony. And what that means is if you get a felony, you can't go into certain countries. And that was his biggest worry. He did not want to be separated from Grace, even though he already has been. He also goes on to say that he feels the way that she does in her songs, and how he's been looking at her lyrics, and how they're like Romeo and Juliet. They're just two victims being split, and he's being framed. Tina and the government is just keeping him away from Grace, so he'll never see her again.
Not only that, another thing I found out, Griffin told me he wants to have me out by Christmas. But my public defender is saying, don't talk to Griffin, don't talk to you, whatever. Tina, we already know, is saying that. But here's the thing. In January, my public defender is saying if I'm not transferred, he's going to drop the case.
Yeah, that much is true. I know that.
That much is true. The thing is, if they're going to drop the case, then they can't even transfer me. That means they don't have a case to begin with, which means they can't transfer me as long as I'm still in custody. The only thing they could do is outpatient, which means I should be able to walk out this door today. And of course, I'm not going to do that because I'm in custody. That would be like running away from or escape. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm just saying that If that is really true, that they're planning on dropping the case in January, if I'm not transferred, I am not going to be transferred, and the case is going to be dropped. It's already been confirmed here at the jail that by the correction officers, because I got called out by SIS and other people, but they're telling me that I shouldn't trust even my own family at this point because they're lying. I'm actually correct, and I'm being the victim of my own family. That's what I'm being told now. And the reason why I'm thinking that this might be my last call is because the jail staff are threatening to stop all calls from this day forward.
Yeah, that sounds like, I don't know what they have against you. I don't know. It definitely
I don't
sounds
know
like
what they have against
targeting
me.
you.
They're targeting me, and my public defender doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah. Wow. So.
And I feel like I should be able to have contact, and if I'm in the wrong, my public defender can always come visit me for like 30 minutes and tell me, like we have proof of this, here's the proof, if you can seize contact with this person. They're not even doing that. So I don't have the proof to be able to verify what anybody is saying. At this point, it's all just words, and it's driving me literally insane.
Yeah.
Not even my public defender, really. But since like early October, like October 3rd, October 4th, I haven't been in contact with Bob at all. I've been trying to call him. He's been refusing to answer. I don't know if he's dead or alive. Nobody will tell me.
Yeah, he was sick,
In the meantime,
though.
Right. In the meantime, I've been talking with you the most because Griffin is not even answering his phone much. And Griffin wants to give me a number of his friend, but the SIS here is telling me don't do that.
Huh.
Because that's going to add to, I guess, whatever's going on. And I guess as well, Tina is in communication with somebody here at the jail on a regular basis, because SIS told me this, is in contact with the jail staff trying to get a restraining order on me because I'm talking on the phone about her. But yet nobody is sending me the proof. Nobody is sending me anything to even match what they're saying. All it is just words.
The way how they were talking about dismissing the indictment if he wasn't transferred to a facility was probably the most normal and aware I've ever heard Daniel. Daniel is usually very, very crazy, and he's just spewing a bunch of lies. But this right here is the most truest thing he's ever said. Obviously, there's still a huge case against him, and they probably weren't just going to let him walk scot-free, which is the case, obviously, as no one knows where he is. He's probably in a facility right now. But no matter what, he's not getting away with what he did. It's always going to be wrong and deplorable. And it got to a point where they even started threatening ending his calls and stuff because of how much information he just gives out. And that is probably the best thing that they could have done because he's not talking to Lil Sippy, he's not talking to Clark, he's not talking to any more trolls. It's just him and officials and everybody that can really get down to the bottom of this. I'm pretty sure it was super hard for officials to pinpoint what Daniel's problem was because of all these trolls just giving him misinformation, scrambling up his brain, and this in the process probably scrambled up their brains. So they're like, you know what? We're done. We are done with the confusion. You guys are cut. Daniel was also in full on fight or flight mode, just not trusting anybody. The officials, his public defendant, his family, all of that. Everybody is a bunch of liars. Everybody who wanted to help him just straight up lying, just so they can separate him from Grace. and it's just really crazy how much he threw himself into this delusion just so he can be with Grace. And the craziest thing is that that was never going to happen. The one time he got contact with her family is them telling him to leave her alone. People can also speculate as well. Oh, he just wanted to make music with her. It's not really predatory, but earlier in this video, he called it a Romeo and Juliet situation and how they're two victims in love and all this weird stuff about them.
Subject to monitoring at any time. To accept this call, press 5. You may begin speaking now.
Hello? Hello?
Hey, just to let you know, this may be the last time I can call.
Why is that?
Yesterday I got called out by the SIS, which is like the head investigators and I guess the head team of the jail.
Yeah.
Who deals with investigations. You probably know what SIS is because you've been to prison before. I got called out by them. They said they contacted Grace on my behalf when I told them not to, but that's beside the point. They went ahead and did that behind my back, and Grace is threatening a restraining order now.
The real Grace is threatening a restraining order? Why is that?
That's my understanding. I don't know. Just because the COs are calling. I don't know any other information other than that. I'm just going off of what SIS has told me. And then they've also told me to stop contact with everyone, or they will be shutting off the phones. And to me, that's a deliberate threat, not only towards me, but that's a threat to the Vanderwalls, Grace. Especially if my public defender is not telling me who I can and can't contact. That's my public defender's fault. And then I also got threatened last night over two things. One thing is that if I contact anybody, they will throw me in the shoe. If I use the phone, which goes against my amendments, my amendments. And to go along with that, they are also saying that Grace is not involved in my case when she is, because she's in my legal discovery, and she's a big part of my case. And to go along with that, I also got told last night by the night shift to go ahead and pack my belongings because I'm getting out. I'm getting my case dropped. But then after I packed up, they came back to my cell, the night shift here at the jail, and they told me, oh, we were just playing around. So I started freaking out last night, going like, why are the COs the last couple days just on purpose doing everything in the world to try to piss me off? Saying I'm getting out. They came on the intercom a couple times last night telling me to pack my stuff, I'm leaving, which never once happened. They were just going all haywire for some reason.
This was actually the last call we would ever hear from Daniel, and it's so funny to think that these cops were all just sitting there, these COs, they're all sitting there, and they're like, hey Daniel, time to go. And then he gets all packed up and they're like, yeah, no, get the fuck back in your cell, bud. You're done, pal. Daniel also snaps out of the illusion and basically just throws out there that there is no Grace talking to him, really, as the guy's like, the real Grace, and he just kind of ignores it. But you would think if he was really under the impression he was talking to Grace, he'd be like, the real Grace, right? What do you mean, the real Grace? I've been talking to Grace. I'm pretty sure in this moment the delusion broke a little bit for him the moment he learned that Grace was sending out a restraining order on him, because how could he be talking to the real Grace if she wants to put out restraining orders on him? A claim he made that's super funny to me that feeds into this as well is that while he was homeless, she would go out and make diss tracks on anyone who made fun of Daniel. If this was the case, you would think that she would come with her riches and sweep him off his feet, right? Just be his new queen and save him. Nah, I guess in Daniel's world, she just left him to be broke and all that, and she just loves him. I guess that's love. Something I want to think about too is if he was so dead set on being in a relationship with Grace, why would he want hella pictures of multiple models and artists and stuff alike? Especially when you're in prison. And the pictures that were being sent to Daniel were kind of provocative. Obviously, they were your average Insta pictures, but they were more show offy, if you know what I mean. Now that I got officially everything out of the way and I did more research on this story, let me give y'all a better closing statement. Trolling sometimes can be done in good fun, like Music Biz Marty started with Cyrax at first, or how anybody trolls Cyrax to be honest, really, or any other locale. But this situation in particular is one where the trolls are the locales as well, because the trolls may not be necessarily predators or anything. These guys are real, mentally deranged individuals. Maybe not as much as Danny, but they're pretty close. You all saw how Lil Sippy looked. He looks like he's almost 30, and he's still trolling on the internet, catching federal cases over it, and all this other stuff. What else do you have going for yourself if this is all you do? I'm going super hard on these trolls because they saw a mentally ill man, took advantage of it, and what happened was so bad. This guy's gonna have to serve his life in prison. I could care less because, as I said, and I will keep saying and I will stand by it, he is a predator. But when they had him go to these hotels, destroy these hotels, when he would go to these restaurants, destroy these restaurants, and when he would threaten these government buildings, that is the point where it's just too far, and you can tell that with the trolls, it's just really demented at that point. On Daniel's behalf, I really hope that this is the end of the Daniel Larson saga. We really don't need any more of him, especially with the fact that he's a predator. And I feel like him alone would be a danger to society, even without these trolls, because he was so mentally deranged to the point where he got caught up in one delusion and ran with it to the point where he's cut off everybody and basically has nobody. He only had Lil Sippy and he can't really call him anymore. I know that he sent Lil Sippy a letter last month and stuff, but that's all we're really going to get out of Larson because why? He wanted to be with Grace. All he wanted was Grace. Whether it was music or a relationship, he wanted both. We cannot deny that. These trolls are just no life degenerates, it seems, and Daniel Larson is one too. It's just, he's a predator. There are no good guys in this story. The trolls may have exposed Daniel for who he really was and how trashy of a person he is, but for them to keep going after he was locked up is just completely insane and degenerate. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe and let me know how you feel about these videos. This series about Daniel Larson was kind of a controversial one because I didn't do research, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't do research because I didn't look into the story of Daniel Larson. I just looked into the many misdeeds. But I was just intrigued more and more by the comments. So, yeah. As always, love y'all.